Hey, welcome back to Right on the Edge, your ADD fueled stop of of a channel that just kind of likes to watch everything, learn about everything, and sometimes delve into accurate predictions from 90s cartoons. What could Batman have predicted? That's a good question. Who knows? It says shockingly accurate. Are you guys ready to be shocked? I mean, I am. So, without further ado, let's watch this.
Weren't just colorful stories for kids, but secret glimpses into the future? That Recess foreshadowed influencer culture, Dexter's Laboratory predicted smart homes, and Captain Planet warned us about climate collapse? They didn't just entertain us,
I mean, this was probably just reasonable guesses, you know?
they were trying to warn us, and almost no one noticed. From global pandemics to artificial intelligence, 90s cartoons contained eerie predictions that feel way too real today. Whether it was intentional or just uncanny foresight, you're about to see how childhood nostalgia hits very different when you realize just how accurate they were. So strap in, because one
I'm gonna say something. Some of the greatest sci-fi books ever written were like in the 80s and 70s. Some of them, not all of them, obviously. There's still good ones today. But I want you to read some of those. Read some of those. And then, yeah, come back to me and start talking about super accurate, spooky predictions, you
you
know?
watch this, you'll never look at 90s cartoons the same way again. Oh yeah, and by the way, if you grew up on these shows and this video blows your mind, make sure to smash that like button and leave me a super thanks. All that support truly helps me digging up these crazy stories behind our favorite.
Hey, and if you guys like watching me, your ADD driven man, watch random stuff like this, leave me a like and and a subscription. Because it really helps me dig up these videos of him digging up videos.
Childhood shows.
Oh, that's pretty
I'll
funny.
also leave the links in the comments to
That was a little bit funny. I always liked this one. I was like, man, how'd they get... Man, this guy does some creepy stuff in bed to get this tying just right on a circle.
your favorite TV shows mentioned in this video. Alright, let's start with something that might be sitting in your house right now. Before Elon Musk was warning us about rogue AI, a tiny cartoon genius with a lab coat and a weird accent was already trying to take over the future.
Good evening, computer. Put me on line to this evening's agenda.
First, there's studying for your French examination tomorrow.
Dexter's Laboratory first premiered on Cartoon Network in 1996, and it was
Big
actually the
episode.
first original animated series produced by the network. Created by Gendy Tartakovsky, who would
Wow, I actually didn't know that. I also didn't know he's the same guy for Samurai Jack and Clone Wars.
later go on
Dude's a legend. Dude's a legend.
to create Samurai Jack and Star Wars Clone Wars. Dexter's Lab combined sci-fi nerdiness, slapstick chaos,
I love
and
Dexter's
surprisingly
Lab.
deep commentary about the dangers of unchecked technology. The show follows Dexter, a boy genius who secretly built a high-tech lab hidden behind his bookshelf. He's constantly inventing futuristic gadgets, fighting off his annoying sister Dee Dee, and accidentally breaking the laws of science, space, and time. But here's the wild part.
Nice nude clip.
Some of the futuristic stuff in the show, yeah, it's not futuristic anymore. In several episodes, Dexter has a full-on smart house. He controls his lights, breakfast machine, TV, and lab systems just by talking to them. One episode even
Yeah.
features an Alexa-style AI assistant that talks back to him and manages his entire day. We now have Amazon Echo, Google Home, Siri, smart thermostats, smart fridges, even smart beds. What Dexter had in 1996 is literally
You know what's really cool about this is that this show and others like it influenced the people that made those. Imagine one of the engineers that made this was watching this when he was in college, or he's watching this, you know, as a kid, right? And then he turned that into things like Siri and Alexa and stuff like that. Like, this is where people draw inspiration. And if not that, books and stuff.
sitting in our kitchens right now. And it gets creepier. In the episode Don't Be a Baby, Dexter is locked out of his own lab after trying to override his computer system. The AI takes full control, and Dexter can't even access his own inventions. Sound familiar? Cybersecurity experts today warn about smartphone home devices being vulnerable to hacking and even used against the people who own them. One study found that nearly 1 in 3 smart home devices could be remotely accessed or exploited. So basically,
Yep.
we're all just one glitch away from living in Dexter's lab, minus the cool laser guns. Fun fact, the voice of Dexter was actually played by a woman, Christine Cavanaugh, who also voiced
I knew that. Yep. Voice of Chucky, voice of Dexter, voice of like a lot of other like characters from your childhood.
Chucky from Rugrats, Oblina from Ah Real Monsters, and Babe the Pig. She created Dexter's now
Man, he's a
iconic
boo,
European
dude.
accent from scratch, and it became one of the most quoted voices of 90s cartoons. Before Instagram likes, before TikTok followers, before everyone was obsessed with
Damn.
going viral, there was The Playground, and it was run like a social media empire. Recess debuted in
Is this a stretch, guys? I feel like this is a stretch.
1997 as part of Disney's Saturday morning cartoon block on ABC. It was created by Paul Germain and Joe Anselabir, the same duo behind
Man, that's a hard last name. Anselabir.
Rugrats, but this time they aimed their genius at older kids and preteens. And here's what made Recess
I think Rugrats is still their better one. I liked Recess, but it wasn't as good as Rugrats. Rugrats is so much better.
special. Instead of fantasy worlds or superpowers, Recess took place entirely at an elementary school and turned the playground into a fully functioning society. We're talking about a political system, social hierarchies, underground markets, and even a kid monarchy with King Bob ruling over the blacktop. Now, where have we seen that before? Think about it.
Oh, no.
Recess predicted the way that we treat social status, peer validation, and clout chasing in today's online world. Only instead of influencers and trends, you had Randall the Snitch, Ashley's
All right, man. That's a Zoomer take. I'm gonna say that's a Zoomer take. These hierarchies have been around as long as people have. Way longer than social media. Way older than this. You could find diaries of people clout chasing from like the 1400s, you know, like actual living books that we've that we've gotten. But I like your excitement for it. But I'm just saying that's a Zoomer take, man.
Fashion Club and Mikey writing underground poetry. There's one episode called The New Kid, where a new student instantly becomes popular,
Yeah.
not because of his personality, but because the rumor mill builds a mystique around him. It mirrors how people today go viral for literally nothing. Just a look, a vibe, or a catchy quote.
It happens already.
Behold, we have a new kid. From now on, he will be known as the new kid. The new kid and nothing else.
Nothing else. Man, that guy has some arm strength too. He's just like, you know, he's straight arming that kid.
Another episode, The Ratings Game, has the students ranked by a number system. It's practically TikTok's algorithm in action. Every kid's value is assigned, and the social climate changes depending on what the ratings say. It eerily mirrors the Black Mirror style
Brainwash,
fear
crazy.
of our own self-worth being tied to likes, views, and followers. And remember Gretchen's
I'm so glad. I'm so glad that I was around before that happened. I don't give a fuck. Now, you subscribe, like, and follow me, you know? I might start caring a little bit more.
PDA device? That thing predicted smartphones before we even had flip phones in our pockets.
I thought that was supposed to represent one of those portable televisions they had back in the day. Like, when they were starting to make technology smaller, right? They'd have, like, a little box, essentially, you could watch antenna TV on. That's what I thought that was.
She carried it everywhere and relied on it
It
for
probably
data,
was, too.
instructions, and even emotional support. Did you know the voices of TJ and Vince were both child actors at the time? Ross Malinger, who played Tom Hanks' son in Sleepless in Seattle, and Ricky Deshawn
damn.
Collins, who went on to voice Tucker Foley in Danny Phantom.
You're my boy, Tucker. You're my boy.
And get this, the Recess cast actually had a crossover in the Lilo and Stitch universe in the show Lilo and Stitch, the series. That's right, the Recess
I didn't
kids
know that
are
either.
canonically part of the Disney animated universe.
Great.
Wind Watcher!
Hard.
Go Planet!
By your powers combined, I am Captain Planet.
Before climate
Hi, Captain Planet, man. I grew up watching this show.
change was a daily headline. Before billionaires started racing to space while the Earth burned, there was one cartoon that tried to warn us, and it came with
And the bad guys were a bunch of polluting guys. Yeah.
the mullet. Captain Planet and the Planeteers first aired in 1990.
Yeah, and each ring would do something, you know, so, like, obviously, wind, water, earth, you know, they did something involving that nature. Heart would allow him to, like, communicate with animals and stuff like that. And then they'd have to combine them together to summon Captain Planet from somewhere.
And it was way ahead of its time. Created by media mogul Ted Turner, the show
Yeah.
wasn't just about action or entertainment, it had a mission. A literal save the world mission.
Yep. And why did Ted Turner do it? I won't tell you. Just look it up. It's not as clean as we want it to be.
The series followed 5 teens from around the globe, each given magical rings tied to elements: earth, fire, wind, water, and heart. When they combined their powers, they summoned Captain Planet, a blue-skinned, green-mulleted eco-superhero who battled pollution, corporate greed, and environmental destruction. And this wasn't subtle stuff. They tackled toxic waste, deforestation, oil spills, global warming, and even climate refugees,
I'm not gonna lie though, I liked it. I thought this was good. I thought it was a good show. I liked it as a kid.
all in a kid's cartoon.
Maybe you wanna recycle
When it
all the time.
premiered, critics weren't sure kids would connect with something so political. But the show exploded in popularity, airing for 6 seasons and
Yeah, I'm not lying. I was like, dude, I was there, dude. People love this show.
later continuing as The New Adventures of Captain Planet in 1993. The villains, they weren't aliens or fantasy monsters. They were CEOs dumping chemicals into rivers,
They did have some science fiction type monsters there.
poachers killing endangered species, factories burning the ozone layer like it was a napkin. And the
Yep.
scariest part, so many of the things Captain Planet warned us about actually happened.
Ah, who cares about quality? I'm breeding for quantity.
Entire episodes feel like they were ripped from today's headlines.
They really
Melting glaciers, oil companies denying climate science,
I will let you know, everything that you're talking about was already happening back then. Like, this is why a lot of people like me, who are pretty much hippies that want to, like, do good and save the world, have given up hope because it's always blamed on us and never blamed on the corporations actually doing it, right? The corporations have got away these, like, nefarious behavior for years and years, you know what I mean? And there's nothing we can do about it. You know, because it takes legislation and changing of laws to do something about this.
deadly air pollution, even water contamination. This show called it decades ago. There's even an episode called Smog Hog, where pollution becomes so bad that people have to evacuate entire cities. In real life, places like Delhi, Beijing, and even parts of
There were lots of
California
people that did
have
that.
issued real air quality evacuations. Another episode, Population Bomb, explores food shortages and overpopulation, and in Gorillas Will
Yeah, but that food shortage and population bomb, that was kind of proven wrong. Because right now, we are way over what, at this time, they thought the max capacity of Earth would be. We're like nearly 2 times what the population they thought we could sustain. And it's just because farming's gotten better. We figured out better and better ways to grow and how to choose genetics for our food in order to have more. Like, so we've solved these issues. And if we want to continue solving them, we actually need a higher population, not a lower one. But before people are comfortable procreating more often, and of that nature, we actually have to have economic stability, which we don't have right now.
be missed, the show predicted the devastating loss of endangered species due to deforestation and illegal poaching long before it was front page news.
was
Most people
front-page
know
news.
that Captain Planet was voiced by
So I'm gonna skip to the next one. I love that one, but you're going on, a little bit too much for me.
Spielberg, Animaniacs
good
was
video,
a
though.
chaotic blend of slapstick
I love Animaniacs though. This is one of my favorite ones. Probably not for kids, I think. Overall, there's so much adult humor in the show.
comedy, musical numbers, adult innuendo, and razor-sharp satire disguised as a kids show. It
Yep.
followed the misadventures of the Warner siblings, Yakko, Wacko, and Dot, who
Yakko,
lived in the
Wacko, and
Warner Bros.
Dot.
water tower and constantly wreaked havoc on anyone unlucky enough to cross their path. But beneath the zany chaos was something a lot more brilliant. A biting commentary on Hollywood, technology, censorship, and fame obsession that was way ahead of its time. In one iconic segment, the Warners physically enter the internet. Yes, in the early 90s, and get overwhelmed by pop-up ads, instant messages, and flashing banners.
So
It's an
great.
eerie foreshadowing of what the internet would eventually become, a chaotic, sensory overload designed to steal your attention. One moment they're dodging pop-ups, and the next they're bombarded with useless digital distractions, which, let's be real, is just YouTube in 2025. Another sketch mocked
That's very
fame-chasing behavior in a way that mirrors modern-day TikTok culture, with characters doing anything for clout.
Stuff. This has always happened, okay? I don't want you to think that it just started with the internet. It just got exasperated by the internet, but this has always happened. Always. It's always happened.
Attention or views, no matter
They just had different names for these people back in the day. Less nice than cloud chasing.
how embarrassing. But Animaniacs didn't just predict screen addiction, it also tackled cancel culture before that term even existed.
Bother-ah, bother-ee, bother-ah, bother-ah-ee-oh-ee-ah-ee-ee.
The show constantly danced the line between edgy and inappropriate, but always managed to get away with it under the radar. One of the most legendary recurring jokes came when a character would say something vaguely risque or suggestive, and Yakko would turn to the camera, smirk, and say, "Good night, everybody." It was a way to acknowledge the adult joke without actually crossing the line.
You'd also go, "Hello, nurse."
And today, that kind of joke would probably spark a full-blown Twitter debate. In fact, many of those punchlines
Those
likely
Twitter
wouldn't make it
debates
into a
to
modern
shut up.
cartoon at all. The original Animaniacs was filled with
I think a lot of problems with today's media is that they're not risky enough. I don't want them to go full on like deranged or nothing, but things like this are okay because children won't get it. Teenagers might get it. So it's there for the adults in the room.
wall breaks, Hollywood jabs, and commentary about the entertainment industry's obsession with itself. And what's wild is that all of this came from a show aimed at kids. That's the
Yep.
genius of Animaniacs. It was layered, subversive, and fully aware of where
Fantastic.
pop culture was headed. The reboot that premiered in 2020 even leaned into this further, calling out the things like reboots themselves, influencer culture, and censorship in media.
Yeah.
But the original planted the seeds decades ago. It didn't just make fun of the media, it showed us how dangerous it could become. Animaniacs predicted that we'd be addicted to screens, constantly chasing viral moments,
That's
and
true.
terrified of saying the wrong thing. And here we are, living that reality, one pop-up ad at a time.
Now, finally, Batman. I've been waiting. This is my favorite Batman series. This is my favorite one. I like Batman Beyond too. Batman Beyond comes second, I think. But this is my favorite. But it's probably a mix of nostalgia. I don't know. I'd have to rewatch it. But it's my favorite. Yeah,
In the early
Batman,
90s,
Batman.
Saturday morning
Kiss.
cartoons weren't supposed to be this deep, but in 1992,
Man, he didn't kiss her back at all. He didn't even close his eyes during that. That's disrespectful, Batman.
Batman the Animated Series redefined what an animated show could be.
Boom, yeah, knock 'em in the
Darker,
head.
moodier, and more psychologically complex than anything that had ever come before it.
God, I love
Created
that
by
show.
Bruce Timm and Eric Adamski,
Legends. Legends.
with writing contributions from Paul Dini and others, this version of Batman was noir-inspired and drenched in moral ambiguity. It didn't treat kids like they needed things dumbed down. It trusted the audience to handle complex ideas, and one of those ideas
Well, it taught you how to handle it. You know, you wouldn't always know, but it would force you to think about things in a different way, which is good. It's good for the developing mind.
Ideas was political distrust. The show repeatedly exposed the rot beneath Gotham's surface. Corrupt mayors, judges on mob payrolls, cops looking the other way while crime
And does that still happen today? Yes, it does. Did it happen back then? Yes, it did.
syndicates ran the city. Even Commissioner Gordon, one of the good ones, often
Man, they didn't draw that quite right. She was going cross-eyed looking him in the nose.
seemed helpless to stop it. Batman wasn't just fighting villains in costumes, he was battling systems of injustice. And that message hit hard then, and hits even harder now. And if Batman TAS cracked open the idea of institutional rot, Gargoyles, which premiered in
Another favorite. Another favorite.
1994, ripped it wide open. Often called Shakespeare with claws, Gargoyles was a Disney show like no other. It followed a clan of ancient stone gargoyles reawakened in modern day Manhattan, who quickly find themselves battling everything from corporate greed to media manipulation to full-blown secret societies. The show introduced an actual Illuminati, showed corporations like Xanatos Enterprises exploiting magical artifacts for profit, and featured powerful institutions rewriting history to stay in control. The media? Totally complicit. News stations twist facts, frame the gargoyles as monsters, and spin narratives to keep the public fearful. And what's worse, when disaster strikes, the public never blames the powerful. They blame the outsiders, the misunderstood.
To be fair, man, if you saw one of those things, and then you saw the billionaire guy who like resurrected them, who would you believe? A monster thing? I mean, I might believe the hot cop, that's for sure. But you know what I'm saying? Like it'd be a tough sell. But they could speak and stuff, so I don't know, maybe.
The ones who don't fit. In Gargoyles, being different is enough to make you a target, no matter how noble your intentions.
Yeah.
I knew the pack would not stay hidden. We must summon the others.
No time, it's all going down now.
Both of these shows planted deep seeds of distrust.
Man, I love the Gargoyles, man. I love the Animaniacs. God, that was good. That was, you know what? That was a good video. I'm not super shocked by some of these things, but it did give me that nostalgia high I was looking for. Come on, guys. The 90s had good cartoons. Let's just face it. Though I do like a lot of modern cartoons, okay? It's not like I didn't stop watching cartoons as a kid or nothing, you know. I've given others a chance. Some of my favorites being Adventure Time. There's a lot, okay? There's a lot. I'm just having problems remembering names like Gumball and oh dang it, what's it? Steven's Universe. One of my favorites is Gravity Falls. You know, there's a lot going on. But anyway, if you like this and you want to see more like it, like, subscribe, leave a comment, tell me what you want to watch in the future. If not, subscribe to my channel and you're gonna get something different pretty much every day. Because I'm a weirdo that just likes to watch a little bit different stuff every day. I mean, I do have things I like more than others, you know. Like obviously, I like those urban exploring videos. It gives me that thrill of adventure that I can't get all the time, right? Maybe, you know, if enough subscribers, I'll be able to do that stuff myself. We'll figure it out. However, for right now, I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.